To the 27th episode of GuardianCast. We've got Huffy from
Yeah.
Alabama today. Are you in Alabama?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm in Alabama. It's great.
Sweet.
Other than the internet, it's potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah. And apparently Alabama is in a different time zone, guys. I actually didn't know that because it's pretty close to the East Coast. So
Yeah,
From
I didn't
Central.
either.
that's interesting. And we got EXO.
Mm.
No guest again this week, but I do have somebody lined up for next week. So we'll finally have a guest for the first time in like 10 episodes. Let's
Ooh.
go.
Who is it?
It's a surprise.
What?
It's
Surprise,
Hey.
guys.
It's a big
Where's
name.
where's the where's the
It's gonna
where's the Guardian Cast roadmap? Oh,
yeah, we need a Guardian Cast roadmap. And we need to make sure that we say, like, when we're taking guests back to the drawing board. That's what we did for the past 10 episodes. Now we're bringing
Right.
it
Oh
back.
my God.
And it's not any different than it was before, but eventually it'll go
Yeah.
back to the drawing board again. We'll see.
yeah,
Yeah, no
it's a
guess for
drawing.
season 3.
Hmm.
Maybe in season 4 we'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Revamp, new rewards.
Yeah. So
I'm actually on 2%, so I'm gonna grab a charger.
oh, okay. With this,
So he may die like
yeah.
in here without that charge.
yeah,
That'd be bad.
yep. Episode 27 is
Yep.
the episode of technical difficulties, apparently, guys. So we're doing our best here, but things are interesting with technology.
When you have to run off of a cell phone because your internet isn't good enough to do anything other than, God, I don't know, browse some like websites.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably, yeah, because he's on his phone right now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on his phone. He had to get close to the window to get
To improve
it
the
to
audio
even
quality.
work. Yeah. So we are flying by the seat of our pants here. At least there's coffee, though.
I don't have any coffee.
That's a shame. So, we're just gonna vamp for a second here while we wait for Huffy, because I really don't want to like jump right into.
Let's jump into it.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
jump right into it.
Okay. How are you hearing us, by the way? Do you have us like on a speaker?
You're just coming out of my phone speaker, man.
That's weird
Okay.
that it's not causing an echo.
Yeah, I'm pretty confused.
Okay. All right, that's something.
That's a pretty good phone cancellation.
Yeah,
for the,
yeah, it cancels
for the
itself.
microphone.
Yeah, yeah. I have you set pretty low,
Okay.
just to avoid that.
Okay. All right, so we'll start off with Iron Banner this week. It went live with these new rule changes. Like, you have the flaming flags now, and they lock in place when you get a power play. Have you guys played it all?
You mean
No,
this rule change? I feel like these is an overstatement. As the rule changes.
Yeah.
How do you like it, Recked? Have you played it?
I've played all of like one game. I've been working a lot this week, but I'll be playing tomorrow probably a little more. The biggest problem is the skill based. People don't seem to want to play it, so it takes
Yeah.
a while to find a match and stuff like that. It
it's
feels
skill-based.
It's just not as fun as quick play.
yeah, quick play feels better.
Huh.
On the upside, if you are torturing yourself playing it right now, then the tokens you're getting will be good next season. So hold on to those. Don't buy anything, even if you don't have everything. Nothing in this weapon arsenal of Iron Banner stuff is even worth your time. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get that hand cannon so that for the 1 week.
The finite
Okay,
impactor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one of those. I was using it for a bit. I think the good thing about it is the only hand cannon with snapshot. So if you are pairing it with a kinetic sniper, then probably like weapon switching will be like super fast and crispy, you know.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's nothing special about it. It's just the snapshot.
Yeah. Just from like, I played like a crap ton of Iron Banner, and we were like cheating six stacking Iron Banner like all 2 nights ago, and we ran into a lot of other six stacks actually.
Yeah.
So the games got pretty sweaty.
Yeah.
The weird thing about the new system is that it's actually disadvantageous to cap all three.
That's what I heard. You lose territory control still, right?
Yeah, because you lose that. So, and then you have to recap. So it's very weird. The system almost feels like, I don't know. It's definitely counterintuitive.
It's still better than triple capping in normal control, though, right? Because in normal control, you lose the territory, it screws up the spawns, and it doesn't like lock it into place for 30 seconds.
I'd say the triple capping in normal control is better, because at least like then, like, even though you're spread out and you may lose one zone, you don't have to recap two of them, you know.
So at the end of the 30 seconds, it just like makes them neutral.
It makes all three zones neutral. The whole map resets.
That's pretty cool.
No, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool because it like resets it kind of like you push for 3 and then you get a bunch of kills and then you push for 3 again.
It basically only makes it worth it to triple cap at the very end of the game.
I think it's a good thing because I think it creates a good balance of people who are, because basically what you're doing is the big problem with quick play in the essence, I mean, in the 6v6 is
in control.
The problem is amplified in control because of the spawn point situation. So that's a big problem. So
how does this fix the spawns though?
It plays better with them because the areas in which you spawn aren't like you can't tell me that like if you weren't on A and B, they reset, you didn't have to go get A and B again, that you wouldn't have to like create another fight basically at the start of the game. So
yeah,
for
but
me, if you're playing it right, then I think that you'd be fine to triple cap all the time.
When I read this rule change though, my thoughts were this, like always in Destiny control, it's been a thing where it is a bad idea to triple cap, right? You always want 2 zones unless you're going against like a garbage team that you just want a mercy. But if it's a close game, you want 2 zones, not 3, because it helps control the spawns and doesn't screw that up at all. So capping 3 zones was always a bad idea. With this locking it into place, it made it seem like capping 3 zones would be a good idea if you had the opportunity to do so. But if it resets the 3 zones at the end, then that's actually even worse. It's more of a disincentive to cap 3 zones. So I don't really understand, the point.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think that the EXO brings up a good point, and there is like a silver lining in this. I think it makes it kind of a more enjoyable experience in the sense that a good team, you're not going to get mercied as often by a good team, because like you're not going to get stomped by someone triple capping you, because any like smart team is not going to cap all 3 zones, right? So
you'll be stomped slower, is what you're saying.
So I'm saying you're going to be stomped slower.
Yeah.
And
let's make the match drag out longer. That's the silver lining here, guys.
Yeah. Well, at least the spawn thing is a thing. Like especially in places like Vostok, like when the other team caps A and C, they're not going to go for B.
Mm-hmm.
So at least like you can spawn together as a group and try to make something happen if you're on the losing team, instead of getting split spawns. So I guess maybe that's the silver lining.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't sound very good. I'm going to need more time with it, I guess. But
it's definitely not a competitive feature. It's not there like it's like a play that you should make.
Yeah. Which I don't know. So like I do think that. What do you guys think about skill-based matchmaking and Iron Banner? Like, I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's supposed to be more competitive than quick play." So, I mean, that's one argument to be made. The downside for me is like, I really don't feel like playing it, especially because of the queue times. I don't want to wait 5 minutes to find an Iron Banner match that I don't really feel like playing anyway.
Well, skill-based matchmaking was something that we pushed, like the community pushed hard for when there were people to play with. And now that there's no one to really play with because the game is kind of in a lull right now because we're on the horizon of a new expansion, but just because we're on the horizon of a new expansion doesn't mean we suddenly have 4 million people playing again. I think the Crucible said there was across all 4 platforms or all 3 platforms it was like 490,000 or something like that.
Did the community push for skill-based matchmaking though?
In the beginning there was a big push for it, I remember.
That's
because we had connection-based matchmaking at the time, and then they said, well, we're introducing skill-based matchmaking because of what the community wanted. They started in Destiny with skill-based, and then they moved to connection. This way, they went backwards, and they started with connection, and then people wanted skill-based. But the population just doesn't support it right now.
I think that's always been a split issue.
Yeah.
It's a divisive thing. It's not like there's a big group of people that are changing their minds whether they want skill-based or connection-based. There's people who are opinionated on both sides. And the weird thing about this argument for me is, like, I'm somebody who's never wanted skill-based matchmaking in quick play. Obviously, it makes sense for a ranked playlist in whatever context the ranks work. But the problem is, like, most of the people, I think, that argue for skill-based matchmaking seem to argue for skill-based matchmaking for other people. Like, they're trying... I never hear somebody say, like, this is a better experience for me. Nobody ever says that. It's always like, I'm trying to protect this other imaginary person that I've never met. Every time, like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, that's what I always hear. Like, the people who are most passionate about, in favor of skill-based matchmaking, are always say, I am trying to protect a certain class of player, that doesn't speak for themselves, apparently. So.
Well, I think that, like, for the most part, I don't think anybody wants to see the top playing against the absolute bottom.
So the thing about that is it's unlikely. In a random matchmaking setting, if you prioritize literally nothing and just threw everyone into a pool, it is so unlikely that you would get the absolute worst players matched on a team against the absolute best players, because the absolute best players are a very small group of people. And then the absolute worst players are not as small of a group of people, but still, like, bottom 10% is still only 10%. So, like, the odds of that happening are unlikely. And if it does happen, it's one game. Sometimes you lose, and then, you go play another game. That's just how it is, It's not likely to happen. I think, like, prioritizing a whole matchmaking system around preventing that game from happening just makes a bad experience for everyone because of queue times, because of connections and peer-to-peer networking. And
I guess I can look at it that way because, like, when just because I go in with usually with the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6 people, doesn't necessarily mean that everybody does. And I know I see it on the other end that when we're doing quick play that not everybody is doing it. So.
Well, that's another thing. If that's your experience, it'll definitely make your experience worse, because from what I've seen personally, I'll play with random viewers, in quick play. I don't care. Like, I'm not looking to pad stats or anything like that. And in the skill-based matchmaking setting, it makes the experience worse for everyone. It makes it worse for me because we're probably going to lose. Because if they're going to match us against somebody of, like, another team of my skill, and then I'm playing with random people who, like, sometimes play PvP or never play PvP, then we're almost certainly going to lose. And then for the people on my team, they're not having a good time because they're getting stomped every game because they're getting put against people of whoever the highest person on the team is. I mean, the whole system is just not really good for anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
especially not an Iron Banner. I mean, we've proven, I think, several times over now that Crucible, with the way that it works in like the standard Crucible, is much better with the connection based or not taking anything into account. I don't really even know if it's connection based even,
Right.
but we know that it doesn't take anything into account, or we know at least that they changed it, and that's better in quick play. And I think that
I don't know that they changed it. I think it was just a bug.
It just broke.
Yeah.
I
don't
hope
know,
that
like
it doesn't accidentally
Iron
get
Banner
fixed.
though, like you got to look at it from future focused, right? From the point of the future. So if you look at skill-based matchmaking, you're like, well, it's not that big of a deal if it's in Iron Banner, so long as there are people playing and people
as long as there's a reason for people to play Iron Banner, because otherwise they're just not going to.
Power is going to matter in the next season, right?
Yeah.
So if power matters, then there should be a reason to grind. I mean,
I don't know if power is going to matter though. You know, I think I might have brought this up, but
we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, because they're letting the legacy players play. I don't think power is really going to matter very much.
I can't wait to roll all over them.
I don't know. I don't know that that's going to happen.
Oh, you don't have Forsaken? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that skill-based matchmaking, just to be honest, is good in Iron Banner. I like that there is a 6v6 playlist that I can go into with a team of 6 people and not feel bad about it. You know, just like a more competitive feeling 6v6, because like, you know, especially like you have people come in and like, oh, you're running a 6-stack at quick play.
Yeah,
you're
that's
so toxic. You know, it's like, this is a way for me to play with my clanmates, my friends, and everything, and not get that.
Dude, well, I've literally been playing with like 6 random viewers before, and people are like, "Oh, you're toxic, you're 6-stacking." I'm like, I'm playing with Johnny
people.
No Thumbs, who just came in here. Like, I'm actually helping you guys out, you know, like.
We're just having a good time. Yeah, I mean, that's my experience in PvP too, and it's like.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying.
Run away.
I hear what you're saying,
Yeah,
Huffy.
my friends.
I can get behind that. I want more people to play, because like the queue times are out of control, you know.
Well, the reason they're not playing right now is because there's no reason to.
Exactly, yeah.
So as long as there's a good reason in the next season, then I believe in that we will see some more people in there.
All right, let's move on. That's enough about Iron Banner, because there's really not anything to talk about there. The interesting stuff, though, Gambit. First, I just want to say, you know, all of this Gambit information that we keep getting is so bittersweet for me, because as much as I am excited about it, I just have, every time they talk about Gambit, I just have this feeling of like vitriol that I did not get to play this at GuardianCon. It is driving me nuts. Like, every time I listen to a podcast or anybody who's like played it and they're like, oh yeah, this is my experience, I can't wait to do this, I'm just like, I literally traveled to a Destiny event and stayed there and didn't get to play this freaking game. So, I don't know. I definitely am a little bit jaded about that. It's like this thing that just keeps bothering me.
Infamy sounds cool. Infamy sounds cool.
Yeah, you should pay $90 for a Gambit
for
emblem.
A Gambit emblem, yeah. Totally gonna do that. That way I can remember the experience of not getting to play Gambit by the $90 that I spent. So, so there's going to be a ranking mode in Gambit called Infamy. It's going to be similar to Valor or Glory that we see in the Crucible currently. There's going to be the standard 6 different ranks of, you know, Guardian, Brave, Heroic, Fabled, Mythic, Legend, and then there's going to be sub-tiers in each of those so that you can see your progress moving. They haven't said if they're going to have names or if it's just going to be tier 1, 2, and 3. I'm guessing there's going to be rewards at each one of those sub-tiers just to make it feel like it's worth it to keep investing your time and it doesn't feel like such a slog, like, oh, I won't see anything happen for a couple weeks or whatever.
The changes to... The changes to the way the win streak and the loss streak have me actually thinking that that's going to change in Glory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty big changes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
possibly, probably, honestly.
Lost streaks not
They wanted to
existing.
shorten that grind.
Isn't there one that says that lost streaks they don't
Yeah,
exist
but
anymore?
I wouldn't have expected losses to even count in this, because this is not a ranked mode in the sense like you're gonna go down.
Well, either is quick play though.
Neither is quick play, no, but there's no losses. Like, losses just end your win streak in quick play. It doesn't actually like take points away from you, like it does in competitive. And I wouldn't have expected it to take points away from you in this either. It doesn't. So
All right.
so there's no loss streaks.
Do you think it's gonna affect competitive though? Then
They're taking
with the
loss
losses.
streaks out of competitive. We'll get to that when we talk about the
Yeah.
Crucible stuff. But ultimately, though, I'm glad that there's a ranking system for this. It'll add replayability to it. I'm hoping that I can just really enjoy this. It'd be something like, hey, I'm just going to jump on Destiny and play, like, some Gambit for a couple hours. You know, that'd be pretty cool if it
What
ends
you
up
can-
being that way.
yeah.
I like the idea of these like weekly bounties.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really into like the idea of like chunk progression and investing in chunk progression. I think that like having that in tandem with like what do you call it, micro progression or whatever is just a better way of doing things.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you feel like you can progress in different ways, and it doesn't feel like as much of a grind. You know, because the big problem with like Crucible, Gambit, you know, competitive, whatever kind of matchmaking is that no matter how hard the match is, no matter what the experience was, blah 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 blah, at the end of the game you get a flat number of points.
Yeah.
You know, and that kind of progression is really unfulfilling. So being able to invest in a chunk progression is nice.
Well,
you needed that.
I think it'll still be a flat number of points with win streak bonuses, right? It's not.
It will. I will.
Okay.
I'm just saying that they're diversifying that kind of progression with, you know, by adding.
They're just adding more goalposts, right? You know.
Yeah, more goalposts.
Yeah. And then like you said, I think the weekly bounties are a really cool addition, as well as the daily bounties with a new NPC called the Drifter that they show here.
What I'm saying is those give you experience, like those towards your rank.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Which like isn't the case in something like Crucible.
Do the bounties in Crucible affect your rank right now? No, right? It's just tokens.
No. Yeah, it's just tokens, which is why I was mentioning this, because
Okay.
it feels it's like another way to progress forward in rank.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. And it also shows like a Gambit emblem right here too. So there'll be two different Gambit emblems, I guess, in his vendor thing.
What if it's the same one, Kappa?
Oh my god. If that guy like seriously gave me like a big problem about like I can't even give these to my family, and then they're just gonna be in the game for everybody to have.
It might be.
Yeah.
No, it actually is different though. We know that it's different because we've seen the emblem.
No.
I already can tell that that's different.
No, that we've seen a picture of the piece of paper, the redemption code thing that people have, but the actual emblem's not in the game yet, so we don't really know what it looks like other than it has the green snake on it, you know. So we, like, there's no picture of the emblem floating around the internet yet. It's
also,
not
guys,
redeemable.
we're confirmed we're getting gift emblems in Season 4. Post your favorite memes right on your character.
The weekly bounty that Huffy was talking about is only available after you hit level 50, and supposedly it awards a large amount of infamy points. We don't know exactly what that means, but we can see that the regular ones offer 15, so more than 15 will be the weekly, and also a piece of powerful gear. So it's a lot of rewards to be had, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm guessing like 75.
Right. And the last thing
75
is exclusive gear. You can see this warlock has like an ugly armband with a bird on it. Don't worry. I'm sure that the hunter's armor will be even uglier somehow for you, Huffy.
Dude, it always is, bro.
Uh-huh.
Dude, is he wearing the hunter armor right now? I bet he is. I bet he's a hunter, and he got
He's
the
a hunter with robes. Oh my
I
god.
bet that's the hunter armor.
Yeah. But I actually
That rocket launcher looks sick, though.
Rocket launcher looks really cool.
my biggest hope for this Gambit armor is that there's actually a reason to use it in Gambit, like Gambit specific perks. You know, wouldn't that be cool?
Do you see the new old-fashioned / dire promise in the hunter's hands there?
In what hunter's hands?
He's on the top of the twab.
Oh, the top?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. The frame doesn't look the same as like the
I
bottom
know
of that.
it's a new type of frame though. I actually think that's kind of neat because that's.
It looks closer to like the Trials hand cannon to me.
It looks old though. I mean, it looks like the old-fashioned.
It looks
to me.
old.
It looks dirty. It looks grimy.
My screen is cracked on my Mac, so I can't actually make out
Yeah.
any of
Okay.
it.
So the Warlock's
Well, let's-
holding a rocket. The Titan is holding either a pulse or a scout rifle. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, the warlock's holding the new rocket, and it looks like the hunter's holding the new hand cannon, looking like a
Uh-huh.
new hand cannon, and we don't know what the Titan's holding. It. I think it's a pulse rifle because of it actually might be a scout rifle even.
That's what I said. Yeah, it's either a pulse or a scout. You can't really tell just from the frame.
Auto
That
rifle.
hunter armor looks terrible.
I can't really see it all that well, but
It's difficult to see.
yeah.
Is it?
I mean,
It
it's a
looks
lot of
pretty bad.
brown. The problem with it is that we're gonna apply our own shaders to it,
Yeah.
and all of Destiny gear is all brown for that reason. It's all like browns and grays and washed out colors and crappy looking. Ugh, it looks
Yeah.
so gross.
It's
Always looks
still-
gross.
It's just the hunter. The model is just not. I don't know. Oh.
There's like a lot of weird straps and
Hey,
stuff
that's my
on that
vigilance
armor.
ring.
Yeah, there are a lot of weird straps, and what it looks like there's like these huge like tumor things on his waist. Those don't even. Like, are those his legs?
Yeah, he's
those are
crouched.
his
His knee
legs.
is up,
Yeah,
dude.
those are his knees.
Well, everyone else is standing straight
like-
up. What is he crouched on?
So that reminds me of a criticism that
definitely
Tetsuya
crouched.
Nomura had for Final Fantasy when he was developing Final Fantasy. Is like everybody just gave him a bunch of crap for all the belt buckles that he added to all the characters that he made. There's belt buckles everywhere, and it looks very similar. Like there are buckles and straps everywhere on that character.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Crucible. So, first, Glory. They made a whole bunch of design changes. First and foremost, just reducing the overall grind. This is something I can definitely get behind. I think just in general, even the people who've gotten to Legend or to the Claymore, for the most part, we agree that it just takes too long. Like, we want a skill-based mode. We want a something that like shows how good you are, but there's no reason for you to have to play like 1,000 games in a single season. That's just kind of obnoxious. Like, to have to dedicate, basically like your whole season to just slogging that out.
Yeah, you just be like, either you played PvP this season and you got the Redrix, or you didn't.
Right. I mean, and the Redrix isn't even that bad in comparison to if you want to get to Legend. It takes
Right.
like 5 times as long as getting the Redrix, honestly.
Yeah.
Because-
like 40% of the way there was getting the Redrix, and then
Because-
60% of the way is getting Legend.
Exo, this is how it works though. So like, not only does it take more points when you get into the Mythic and Legend ranks to level up, but also you get less points for each win. So it like double penalizes you. And it just takes really, really long unless you stay on a consistent 5 streak for like the entire grind. So
And now the system only matches you against people of like similar number, and there's like
Yep.
20 people that like are like insane enough to go past
Yep.
Redrix because there's no reason to, and so it's just this it's a
Yeah, I've been
possible.
watching. Triple Rec has been trying to get his legend before the season
28th.
ends, and
Because the season ends on the 28th, right?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, season ends but season 4 doesn't officially begin until
Right, yeah, so
the
we'll be
week
in like
after.
a weird transition. But like he literally sometimes will mongoose, which means you've been queuing for 15 minutes, I think, 10 or 15 minutes, and it kicks you out of matchmaking. Mongoose 3-4 times without finding a game. So it's like hours and hours of just searching for a game. Like that's got to go. You know, like so
Yeah.
And he also has a stacked team probably too, right?
well, yeah, I mean, in competitive, if you're gonna play at that high of a level, you have to. You better not go in solo queue.
Yeah, but I mean, like basically, you're looking for either for solo queuers that are going to be at that high of a level,
which
or
is
you're
not
looking
happening.
for a stacked team, which
Yeah.
is also not happening.
Yeah, true. So that is a good thing. Another good thing is the radar is being re-enabled in competitive. So they've heard the feedback. They've listened to people. I've actually, surprisingly seen people pissed about this. Did you know there was people who liked the no radar thing?
I did know that.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought everybody hated it.
There's a weird.
Unanimously.
There's some like I would have defended it. I defended the radar being in the game outside of the fact that I've recently found out that there are weapons with threat detector on them, and what it is it's a perk.
The Ikelos SMG.
It'll tell you that there are enemies nearby.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they could be behind a door, it doesn't matter.
And the Warlock Sanguine Alchemy.
So you can on the Sanguine Alchemy, you can pop a rift and see the enemies where they're at.
Yep.
That's great.
And so when they took it out, I actually remember it being like a little bit of a refreshing change, like the first 2 weeks, because Trials at the time was literally so bad and boring that just doing something random to change the game felt good, even though it wasn't actually a good change. Like, they literally could have just been like, we're making it all rocket launchers. Just try it out, you know?
Better,
yeah, anything would have helped at that point. The thing is, and some people off, because I have friends that really enjoyed No Radar, but I gotta be honest. The only people who like No Radar are people who constantly have a 4-stack and are using No Radar to farm scrubs.
And then if they lose a game, they're gonna complain about it.
Yeah.
Or campers, or hardcore campers.
Yeah. I mean, the second you even are in a team of 4 and you run into another team of 4 and it's a tough game, it just feels like crap. It's just not the way Destiny is supposed to be played, because at the highest level, No Radar makes camping with vigilance wings. You will always be in an advantage if you are already ADS in a No Radar game mode, And the goal is to stay already ADS on an enemy's location at all times. So it's just not. That's not what we want. The highest skill gameplay to look like. 3Ping corners and sitting in spawn. That's not what we want.
Well, also I think it exacerbates the tractor cannon problem, because if you can't be seen and you can just 3-peek corners and have the tractor cannon out and know exactly I've literally had it before, and you 3-peek the corner and see when people are about to run through, and then they're just done. You could just wipe a whole team easily by yourself. It's pretty stupid. So,
and that's the skill gap that people are talking about. The No Radar ads. That's the skill gap.
Yeah.
It's not a skill gap. It makes it also to where the only time it is beneficial to have on a sniper is in your spawn, and it's really we want to use snipers, right?
Yeah.
And radar plus snipers in Destiny, it's the way it should be. It's the way it goes. Our sniper rifles aren't strong enough to function without radar.
And it's not just snipers, but there's a lot of things that are unusable without radar. We've talked a million times about how bad Gunslinger is, but Golden Gun without radar, you can forget it. All somebody has to do is crouch behind cover, and you've Now you only have 5 seconds to find them, so you better run out into the open with that thing and make yourself really vulnerable. It's really dumb, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that change. I hope that with the...
I think people move a lot, like with radar being lost as well. You do see a player, like the way they move is different. Like they move a lot slower, a lot more methodical. Whereas they're not looking for, because like if you're running down a hallway, you're looking for that where's the enemy, like where is he gonna be? And if you're good, you know where they're gonna come from, and you know what door they're gonna come from or where they're gonna be. And without the radar, you kind of have to like wait and find out. So it actually is bad in that sense too, because it turns even good players sometimes into like campers that are waiting for people to turn around corners.
Right, I agree. Like sometimes, like the predictability of people's movements, it can show like a little bit of skill there on initial spawns. But the problem is, say you get into an engagement in a 1v1 with somebody, which is rare anyway, but after that, you're like paranoid all of a sudden. You killed somebody and you're like, I better do a 360 and see if anybody's around me if I'm about to die, and just run in a random direction
you don't know.
and hope I don't run into them, you know, like...
And that happens regardless of whether or not you're good or bad or whatever. It just it creates an anxiety level that you don't need in a game. It's like, I just killed someone. I should feel good.
Yeah. It really takes the emphasis off of individual skill, and this is like amplified by the fact that recov times are so low. Like it is so impossible to win a 1v1 without like some kind of like team firing and then like rotate, because you have to be right beside. You have to be in a piece of cover that is right beside your teammates.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like the second you come out of that engagement, like if you don't have someone to dip back to, if you don't have a teammate to come like take like cover behind, then your recov like takes far too long to just wait behind a rock or something. It just makes the highest level of play, again, it's not that it's bad, and it's not that there's not a skill gap there. It just like bring it back to the top 1%. It makes the highest level of play to never take a 1v1 engagement, which is that's not what we want the meta to be.
And it's
but that's the best idea, is to never take a 1v1.
It seems to be a very Destiny problem, because if you remember, like MLG Halo had no radar, and it was actually good. It just doesn't...
the movement speed.
Right. The movement speed is so slow in Halo that you didn't have as many random occurrences. You kind of knew what people's options were, and like if you made a call out, it wasn't like somebody could be across the map in 2 seconds.
Yeah, but wasn't there modes in Destiny, the first Destiny, that didn't have radar?
Inferno.
Yeah, and everybody hated it.
Inferno. Nobody played Inferno.
Oh, I didn't play it myself, but I mean,
That's the only one I remember. Inferno and one weekend of Spooky Trials, but that's it.
Spooky Trials? Was that the name of it, or?
Yeah, they did it on Halloween, where they took the radar out of Trials. It was the worst weekend of Trials ever. It was just people literally running around with shotgun on the cauldron, and it was like whoever could shotgun first wins every time.
I'm sorry, I don't think that was true, actually. I think the shotguns had already been nerfed to crap at that point. It was a whole bunch of people with double sticky grenades on Sunsingers that were sticking you from across the map.
Well,
which felt way worse than being shotgunned.
I didn't think it was that late, actually, in Destiny's life cycle. I thought it was like before they did that.
Well, I mean, shotguns kept getting worse, but they didn't feel great then. I just remember being stuck like 800 times by flux grenades and Sunsingers.
Yeah,
and it was just the worst.
Yeah. So here's another piece of exciting news. Control and Clash got added to the competitive playlist. So Control, Clash, Countdown, Survival, and I just read in the Destiny Roundup that they added they're adding the 2 new game modes to this as well. Competitive. Oh yeah, Breakthrough. Not 2 new game modes. So Breakthrough, the new game mode, is going to be in competitive as well. So it's going to have a lot more game types, which is good for variety.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about Countdown staying, honestly. Hopefully it's better with Radar. I don't know. I haven't played it with Radar in so long that I can't really remember if I like it or not, but it sucks with no Radar. I know that much.
It'll
So
be better with the TTK and Rated R. It was kind of bad early on, but hopefully the TTK and Radar change will make a big difference. I think that will alleviate the problems with bomb defuse times and bomb set times. Like the 40 seconds feels, people have different opinions on it, but I think the speed in which you can wipe a team now is going to make that feel a lot better.
if I remember correctly, that Breakthrough mode they said is not going to be ready at launch, right? They said that was something
One
they
of
were
the
still
modes
working
is,
on.
but I think that, I don't know, the Breakthrough might not be.
Yeah. Okay. Now we can get into the controversy.
Well, Control and Clash have been added to the competitive playlist, which I think is just better, right? I mean, there's a little bit of controversy over the next thing you're about to say.
Right.
But I actually have a quote about spicy ramen that I want to bring up when we're talking about the controversy.
Okay. So here's the controversy. I'll present it neutrally first and just let you guys comment, and then I'll give my thoughts. But basically, they had said, they had alluded to, I've looked back over the wording. It's kind of hard to tell, Bungie and their language. But they had alluded that Redrix was going to be a Season 3 exclusive type weapon.
What was their exact wording on it?
Oh, man, Kevin Yanis Tocom had said in the Crucible reveal stream back when they were introducing Ranked, Season 3 is going to be our opportunity to earn this Redrix Claymore, and then it's going away for a long, long time. That's what he said. And there was a couple other quotes that basically made people think that there was not going to be another opportunity to earn this. It's not.
Well, so what's happening though?
And they're still not.
They're still not, technically.
What's happening here?
They're introducing something called Redrix Broadsword, which is a carbon copy of the Claymore, except better because you have access to random rolls. You can get multiple different rolls of it. You can masterwork it, and you can mod it. So literally the name is the only trophy about the Claymore.
So Kevin Tocom on Twitter said that it's the same archetype and the same slot as the Redrix's Claymore.
So explain, Recked, why people are mad.
Well, people are mad because they've invested a lot of time, and especially people who aren't top tier PvP players have really grinded a long time for this, and it was a huge accomplishment. So they're angry that they invested all that time, and then it's going to be easier for people to get. Now, in Bungie's defense, they're saying that this will be a long, engaging quest. Somewhere in here it says that.
I said that about the season ornaments.
I know. I'm just putting the information out there. They said it's going to be a quest that people have to do in Season 4 that will feel like you've earned it. They're alluding that it's going to be hard and long. We'll see. I can't guarantee that. And the people who have Redrix Claymore right now are just going to get the broadsword right away. You don't have to do the quest. So that's their consolation prize, but people are not.
Yeah, but the other consolation is that there's an emblem that you get that will signify that you only get for this season, that will signify that you put that time investment in. And I just got to say, to be angry, I'm still gonna grind to the thing. To be angry about this, I think, is maybe one of the dumbest things that you could be angry about as a competitive PvP player. So first of all, you were grinding. Even if you're grinding now, you're grinding for a weapon that was going to be useless in Season 4.
No, it's
right?
good. It's
Because
useless in season 3. I think it's actually going to be better in season 4 because that
Yeah,
well,
archetype of pulse is getting buffed.
I
it's
mean,
gonna be
yeah,
it's gonna end up being
it
a
is
two
getting
tap.
buffed, but the idea that are this old weapon with like less modability and like no random rolls, like the idea that there was going to be nothing to compete with, like, that slot, like a pulse rifle that wouldn't be better with random rolls or whatever.
Well, the
Like, I
only
think
thing
that
that's
was kind
going
of just this weird wet dream that people were having, like, oh, this legacy weapon is going to be better, and I just don't think that's like something that people realistically thought
so
about. So
the
now we're getting
broadsword though,
upgraded.
but the broadsword,
Let him
the
finish
first
his thought.
broadsword you get. Okay, go ahead.
But now you're getting an emblem to signify, like, yeah, you're like something more visual, right? Like, in the case that this weapon was bad, you would have been able to tell your friends, I have the red dress, like, not, whoa, 1 second.
Sorry about this.
It went to vertical mode probably because he was getting a phone call. I bet.
Yeah, it's just vibrating.
That's what it sounded like.
All right, sorry, that was a phone call. So now you're getting a visual representation that you completed the grind. You're getting an updated version of the weapon in the next season that, like, will be better and, like, for sure, like, will actually be viable in PvP. We don't have to, like, worry about that now. And you still get to, like, keep your old thing. I don't understand, like, you weren't going to. The high likelihood was that you were going to come out of this Redrix grind with nothing, because we're getting new weapons, new meta, new random rolls, new masterwork systems, and now you know for sure that you're coming out with something, and you're getting a head start on something even better. So I don't really understand the anger. Like, sure, it's like novelty. You're missing the novelty, but
I'll let EXO respond, and then I have some thoughts on it.
Well, the first broadsword that you get won't have random perks. It's gonna have the fixed set of perks that are exactly the same as the Redrix's Claymore. But even if the quest is long, it won't be as long as people worked for the Claymore, and the Claymore won't be brought forward into season 4. Like, it actually won't be brought forward into the broadsword. Will be brought forward into season 4 because it has all the mods with them. After that, you're going to be able to get random rolls on the barrels, magazine, and masterwork perks only. You'll still have the outlaw and desperado combination, and it'll still be basically the broadsword, or the claymore rather. But there's no reason now to therefore get the claymore, because they've once said it's an exclusive weapon. That's only one part of it. The quote that I want to read about Ramen specifically addresses this. It says, in the past we've offered, and this was Cosmo on Reddit. It says, in the past we've offered emotes and some Eververse rewards. We've told players that would only be available during the season that they were sold.
Oh.
We didn't want these statements to come across as misleading. Now, by offering season 1 emotes like the spicy ramen again. That said, plans can change even if the community is asking them to. I make this suggestion to the team, but first want to get feedback from the community and make sure we wouldn't be making a lot of players in the community angry by changing our stance on this. Please share your thoughts in the community section. Basically, he's saying they're not bringing season 1 emotes back because it was in season 1. And they've told us that the Redrix is a season 3 weapon. But now they're like, well, but it's not a season 3 weapon, but it is a season 3 weapon because the Redrix is Claymore you can't get anymore.
I think
the first one will be identical to the first broadsword you get will be absolutely identical to the Claymore.
The emote thing's a good analogy. I think they think they're being really clever by changing the name of this and making it a new weapon. They think, like, basically it gets around all that. I personally, like, I'm not like super pissed about this. I definitely agree with what you said, Huffy. It's like a useless weapon right now. I don't think it'll be the best weapon in season 4 by any means. We'll see with the random rolls and mod ability and masterwork and stuff like that. But what I'm like upset about with this is, like, not really so much top tier players or anything. I think that, like, I've seen a couple things on Twitter, like there was this doctor that like put up a screenshot of him getting his Redrix, and like he was like, hard work pays off and stuff like that. And I think like a lot of that accomplishment is sort of invalidated by this. I think one of the biggest problems with this solution that they came up with, where they introduce the broadsword, is that you're going to shelf your claymore. Even if you got the claymore, you're going to shelf it for the broadsword. And so if you
Right.
are a player who achieved that, and even if you just want it to be that in the kill feed it shows claymore instead of broadsword to like show that discernment, that you achieved that just visually as a cosmetic thing, you can't really do that because you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by using an inferior version of the weapon. They should update, at the very least, update the claymore to be able to accept mods, masterworks, so that you can use that weapon if it is something you achieved.
That would be cool. I'd be, that would actually solve my whole problem with it. Because my concern is the players. It isn't really the players that haven't achieved it, because those players are kind of like they have either no intention of doing it, or they don't want to slog through the crappy Crucible to get to it. But the players that have done that should be rewarded.
Yeah.
More than just an emblem.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I understand that only 8,000 players got it. That is obviously much lower than what their goal for this was, which is, I think, why they're making this change. But I think they could do a little bit of a better job of like at least letting people bring this weapon forward and not necessarily forcing them to use the new version of the gun. But nothing's ever going to be perfect. They're not going to please everybody on this. One thing that I think is a missed opportunity, and the novelty, like you were saying about this, if you think back to Destiny 1, and this is something I brought up in Say No to Rage's stream earlier, is like the best sniper in the game in Destiny 1 was a sniper called the Supremacy. It dropped during the Queen's Wrath event, which only happened once in Destiny's life cycle at the very beginning of the game. It had random rolls, so it was a super rare thing, especially to have a good roll of it, because you had to do these repeatable story missions, and then you could never get it again. And so the people who had that, it was like, I have this thing, it's awesome, nobody else can get it. And I can understand the allure of something like that. I don't think Redrix would have been that, because it's really not that good, but we'll have to see with the sandbox changes how good it is. That's to be determined. But
yeah,
I can sympathize with that side of it too, that you want something that other people can't get. That's totally fine with me. I think there should be things in the game like that, personally.
I was just gonna say something very similar to that, honestly. So that kind of.
Yeah, I think that I agree. I think that having things that other players can't get, like locking things to seasons, like is a cool thing. And I think that in this specific case, it applies way better to emotes, because emotes are something that are always functional and fun. The Redrix just wasn't very good, and we don't know if it was going to be very good in the next season. So, as much as I wish that it could have been one of those types of weapons, like one of those things that you invested in that people look back on, 2 years later, and it's like, wow, he still has that. And while I think that those things need to exist, I don't think the Redrix was that weapon. I just don't think we were there yet.
Let me ask a two-part question. Do you guys think the Luna's Howl, they're going to do like this exact same thing in Season 5 with the Luna's Howl? And if they do you also think that the quest for this Redrix broadsword will be available forever? Like, do you think it's going to...
They told us in the TWAB the answer to that.
Where?
It says that the rewards are going to be quest-based and will not expire by season.
Okay.
I believe
so the broadsword... Well,
the broadsword will be Season 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever.
But they haven't confirmed that there's going to be a quest for the Luna's Howl yet, right? I think they're probably going to see how this goes first.
That's going to be... They've already said that that's going to be the Crucible goal for Season 4.
To me, that is a pinnacle Crucible reward, right?
3-tap hand
Pinnacle
cannon.
Crucible
100.
rewards are now awarded via quests.
Right.
So it might be. It might be.
These quests will
Pinnacle
not go
Crucible.
away at the end of the season. So that's weird though, because then it's not a seasonal reward anymore at all. Right?
It's a quest that you can only pick up this season.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, no, he's right. He's right. So it won't go away at the end of the season. So basically, you're going to have these quest things that will never expire until you earn them, but will require certain things.
But the
like
question
glory
next, though, is
ranks
can
or
you
power.
pick that quest up in the next season?
Probably not. Probably
because
not.
Literally, just because I'm going to make the argument, literally, like without any like fundamental like philosophical thought into this, because they're so bad at vendor inventory slots that they wouldn't be able to just like dedicate like a square to a legacy quest. You know, I think that.
I think the wording here is so vague, it could literally go either way. I think whatever decision they decide to make in future seasons will be thinking back to this moment saying, hey, they said they were going to do this, or they said they were going to do this, and then you look back at the wording and you're like, it's actually not clear what the hell they're doing. You know, like every time you read something and you come to a conclusion and then you realize, oh wait, they worded that in such a weird way that it doesn't actually mean what I thought it meant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the howl is going to be a 3-tap 180 hand cannon, right?
Yeah, you have to hit 2 consecutive headshots.
2 head, 1 body.
But you have to hit the headshots consecutively. It can't be headshot, body shot, then headshot.
Right.
So that'll be interesting. I still don't think I'm gonna like it because I just don't like how they feel.
Yeah. So the question is, are 150s gonna 3-tap to the head?
Yeah, and we still don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. We don't. So when we find that out, listen, if there's another 3-tap hand cannon, if 150's 3-tap under any circumstance, then this 3-tap that requires such specific circumstances will be invalidated, and the 150s will be like the more forgiving, better weapon to use in the Crucible. You know.
I think that the 180s will still be forgiving because it has an optimal time to kill of 0.66, and then even if you miss a shot, you're still going to have a time to kill around 0.9 or 1 second. So I think it'll still be forgiving. I just don't think that it feels good to fire. That's my issue with it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it has to feel good too. I mean, you can't just look at the TTK like that. That won't. You know, it depends on the hit registration and the weapon, the way the weapon feels to fire. Like,
but in terms of being in terms of being forgiving, though, fast firing weapons are more forgiving because if you miss a shot, you have the opportunity to make it up. Whereas slow firing weapons, it takes so long to shoot another shot that your likelihood is a lot worse.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that, but the 180s are just so hard to see what you're shooting.
Yes, that's why I don't like them.
It's almost that like if you miss a shot like due to muscle memory, you can't like reacquire your target. It's very odd.
So that being said, I want to talk about we got confirmation that on August 28th, we're not just getting weapon slot changes, we're also getting the sandbox changes. We're getting the time to kill changes. So we will get to play with all of that, which is really exciting because I was really worried that it was just going to be this special ammo hell where people just run around with special weapons only.
They had a PSA about weapon slots and that you should have, and I mean, I'm going to have a huge problem. Empty out your postmaster because any weapons that will be in that will automatically go to your character's inventories. So expect a lot of them to change and a lot of them to move. And anyone that you don't have that, like if it overfloods energy, for example, it's going to go to the postmaster for more energy weapons. You could probably just put them in your vault, but you'll still have to go pick them up from the postmaster after that.
Right.
And the new collections will not be live, so you won't be able to try anything out for a week that you lose.
Yeah, and even the old collections won't be live, so pull your exotics out that you want to test out. Make sure you have a copy of it
Or
printed.
put them in the vault. You know, you can put
That's
them
what
in the
I'm
vault,
saying.
but
Just don't expect to be able to pull it out of your collections.
pull them out of the collections. Yeah.
Oh, you know what else I wanted to mention? You talked about loss streaks, EXO, and one thing
Yeah.
that they put in here is losses in competitive playlist no longer reset your Valor win streak. And I'd just like to say, that was happening?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, I had no idea.
I didn't know that. That's so weird that they thought that that was a good idea.
Well, I did notice. I did notice that when I was in like just a Valor playlist, that it wasn't doing anything, but the losses would like stack up, or the losses weren't. So I can imagine that it would also affect, because the boxes shouldn't even be there for like Valor outside of.
Yeah, the boxes aren't there, but you lose your win streak. So that's just bizarre that they had that.
Yeah, so like one playlist is affecting the other. Because I did notice a little bit of like the loss streaks. Like I had one or more losses, like 2 losses or whatever, in just the Valor playlist, just the quick play. And I noticed that it was still stacking up. So it's like, well, that's weird, because like it shouldn't be doing that, because I only lost once according to this, and I shouldn't be doing anything. But that made me think, like, what else is tied to with the other competitive playlist?
Yeah. All right.
They're very tied playlists. It's interesting, like all the way back to Trials was like intertwined with it too. You used to get like a loss on your card if you would complete like 2 games without killing anybody, like if people would leave. But if you queued a quick play game between the 2 Trials games and killed somebody, then you could. It was really weird.
Yeah, what a
Is
bizarre
Trials
thing.
the best way to grind for your Crucible, for your Claymore?
You can't. No, it doesn't count.
It doesn't count for competitive, right?
Right. So Trials is only for trial stuff. Don't even bother with
Stupid.
it.
Only for really great Trials gear that you can't get anywhere else. Wow, you got to invest in that Trials Ghost Shell.
So I want to talk about.
I need that Trials Ghost Shell. Thank you very much. I don't have it yet.
I want to talk about potential good loadouts for this week, or not for this week, for the 1 week meta. Number 1, I'm gonna definitely want to try out the Redrix Claymore, because if it is really good, then it's an exclusive thing to have, and you'd probably be able to stomp people for that week if it is really good, because it's gonna 2-tap apparently. We'll have to see how it plays out. Another thing I want to try out is obviously the Silicon Aroma is my favorite weapon in the game. It goes in the kinetic slot. So I'm going to try pairing it with a Jack Queen King, if the Jack Queen King can 3-tap. I'm going to try pairing it with a Sunshot, which I just finished leveling up my Masterworks yesterday for it, so that it's ready to go. But I have a concern about that. I didn't realize, because I haven't used Sunshot in so long, it actually has explosive rounds built into the frame. Because of that, I'm wondering, because when you get a precision shot, it splits the damage up, so that half of it is an explosive round that does a straight amount of damage, and part of it is does precision damage. I don't know if it's still going to 3-tap, even if the 150s do 3-tap.
Oh.
So
no, it does. It still counts as a headshot.
Right,
because
part of the shot counts as a headshot, but the explosive damage does the same for body or headshot. So I just don't know how that math is going to work out.
Yeah, just like from using like a crap ton of the better devils, like as long as that thing is a precision shot, you know what I mean? Like you still get the headshot kill for it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know that, but
are you concerned that the explosive round damage isn't going to scale up with TTK?
Well, that's one concern, but what I'm actually concerned about is the explosive round damage does the same amount of damage whether you hit them in the body or the head. It doesn't do precision damage, the explosive part of it. So you'll see 2 damage numbers. You shoot them in the head, you see 2 damage
but
numbers.
You still get the same amount of damage per shot.
Total?
Yes.
So it'll still do roughly 70 to the head, depending how much they scale down 150s.
Yeah. Yeah, it still does the same amount of damage. There's like people have always had this like confusion about explosive rounds. It is confusing, but you still get the same amount.
Okay.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Unfortunately,
that'll
it's
be
the
worth
frame.
trying out then, because it has the highest range stat in the game. But after playing with Sunshot, I think I realized, Huffy, other than the visual recoil, what is so hard to use about it. I looked really closely at it and found I tested a bunch of other hand cannons, and what I noticed is when you fire a hand cannon at its max fire rate, the brackets around the reticle disappear, but the reticle itself moves up and down with the barrel of the gun a little bit, and you can see the reticle move on the screen. The Sunshot, the reticle completely disappears.
Really?
Yeah, for like a few frames, the reticle is completely gone. That's why it's hard to track your targets when you're fan firing that. So
Yeah.
I think that that's just a visual thing that they need to fix, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
even if you leave like all of that weird like sound and visual recoil, just at least put a dot on my screen so I can see what I'm aiming at, you know? And
Yeah. Sunshot's only going to be viable with people who put a piece of tape in the middle of their
but
monitor.
that won't even work because when the gun's settling, the reticle doesn't get quite back to the center of the screen by the time it's ready to
Yeah.
fire again. So you kind of have to like guess, which is
Yeah.
stupid. That's just a bad mechanic. 8 shots in the mag is not competitive with other 150s. They said actually on Twitter this week that they've noted that and given that feedback to the Crucible team. I don't know if they're going to make an adjustment to it or not. I think it'll be a little bit better if it can 3-tap, because then at least you have some room for error and you can kill about 2 people with it. Whereas right now, you can only kill 2 people with it if you land perfect shots, basically. So I hope Sunshot's better, because right now it's pretty bad. And
Yeah.
so are other Energy 150 hand cannons. Submachine guns, that's another thing I want to check out. I hope that there's a reason to use them. Otherwise, with the buffs to autos, I just don't know if they're going to like haul the range in more and make them kill like really really fast, but then you just get shotgun down. So I don't know what to do. What do you think they should do with SMGs?
Honestly, SMGs were great. Like with this TTK, they were like something really aggressive that you can use. I think that in a shorter time to kill, I think with the TTK that we're looking at, then the SMG will kind of put a little cloud on like high skill weapons. Like if SMGs are scaled down by the same amount, of time to kill like as everything else, or scaled up in damage the same amount as everything else, then I think like those high skill like close range shotgun, tracking, and those like medium range like hip fire handgun trackings, like those kind of plays are going to get like clouded up by people aping around with SMGs, and I don't know how I feel about them. They're going to have to do something like really, really tactile in order to make them feel good in the new meta, because they could ruin the game. Like I can't imagine. Like imagine Destiny 1 with SMGs that had a competitive time to kill. Because the thing about SMGs and autos, it just feels like people don't miss, and it's because like they're spam firing the gun, they're tracking you with just a flurry of bullets. The great skill gap when it comes to like hand cannons at that range, is that like you can miss. You can miss a shot. And it changes the pace of an engagement and the feeling of it. It doesn't really exist with SMGs. I'm interested to see what happens.
The Surprisingly, if you disinclude SMGs and sidearms, auto rifles in this meta actually have the best time to kill in the game. optimally if you hit all headshots, which like never happens. So that's why they're not like actually a
Yeah.
competitive choice. But we know auto rifles, or at least the one archetype we've seen of auto rifle, is getting a 24% damage buff compared to hand cannons, which look like they're getting about 15% damage buff. So I just don't know, like the SMG in the range that it's in right now. If they buff it by 15 to 24%, that's not really going to be counterable. I'd like to see it as an anti-shotgun weapon. That'd be amazing. But I just don't know where you set the range to do that. Because if you set it where it can be an optimal anti-shotgun weapon, you have to keep the range of it higher than a one-hit kill shotgun range, obviously. And if it is set that
Yeah.
far out, like you said, you can just ape people with it and kill them in half a second. And I don't really want to see that happen. So I just feel like they're going to lose their identity. There's going to be no difference between an auto rifle and
Yeah.
an SMG.
I think the problem here has less to do with identity and more to do with like optimal loadout.
Hmm.
I don't think that like just because of the new slot system, SMG has a place. You know, people were using SMGs to, you know, kind of like be like their power weapon in disguise, you know. Um, the weird thing about it is, okay, so Recked, where would you run an SMG to counter a shotgun? Are you gonna run a sniper and an SMG? You know, like what slot would
Yeah.
you possibly give up to run an SMG? It doesn't.
Yeah,
It
you're
doesn't
right,
fit.
because like if I run a sniper and even if I body them, like the range of an SMG is not enough to be able to switch over and hit them with that. It's not a good pair.
Yeah. And people aren't going to run hand cannon SMG because you can run a shotgun in that
Right.
slot, you know? And if they do run hand cannon SMG, if hand cannon SMG is better than hand cannon shotgun, then shotties will, I mean, they're definitely less skilled of a weapon than a shotgun. So, like, the game is just going to feel cloudy. You know, it's interesting.
Hmm.
It doesn't have a slot. There's nowhere to put the SMG anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so
You could run shoddy
do you
SMGs,
think there's any chance they just
but
like they're not going to take him out of the game? They've never done anything like that. So
I
I don't know what they're going to do.
I do think there's a chance that they like don't really buff them
Yeah.
and they leave them out of PvP. I do think that that's a possibility,
Hmm.
but yeah, I did say that shoddy takes more skill than SMG,
Oh,
and I stand by that.
really?
Yeah, I stand by that statement. Go into the Crucible with a perfect paradox, or like any shotgun that's not one of the broken shotguns. Like we have a weird idea of shotguns in Destiny 2, like you know, because we're used to Acreus and we're used to tractor cannon, and that's just not what a shotgun is. The amount of like risk and positioning that you have to put yourself in, like as soon as someone backpedals you with a shotgun, like you have to have a playbook in mind. With an SMG, you just like have all this forgiving range. You can jump around like a deadie and just track people. But shotgun is a very different story. Shotguns take way more skill to use than SMGs. SMGs are deadie guns, and I remain an SMG.
I, I can't really get on board with that. I don't think so. I think
When's the
that
last time you used like an actual shotgun in the Crucible?
I was using Balligant when I was running Titan. I just think that like anything with a one hit kill potential, with such a huge reticle, I don't know that I can say that it takes more skill than a an SMG, which you have to actually track somebody with. You know, uh, so I understand like positioning's a thing, but that is a thing with every weapon. Like that's always been the argument is like
Yeah,
shotguns are about positioning. Yeah, every weapon's about positioning. You know, so
yeah.
I don't know that.
So, again, I am talking about like I'm talking about an SMG with a shorter time to kill. You know, I'm
Uh,
not saying that the current 1.2 second SMG is not rushable with a shotgun. You know, I think that you can easily just ape forward with a shotty and kill somebody that's SMGing you as long as you're well positioned. But as far as like the skill required to use both weapons, if SMG comes down, then it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, I don't know. Like when I think about shotgun plays, I just want to be able to have a viable counter in the game, and I hope that primaries just serve as that. Where if somebody uses a shotgun poorly, that it's not just something that's impossible to counter, because that is something that did exist in Destiny 1, as much as people don't like to admit it. Like even a 3-tap hand cannon in the wrong like context would not have been good enough for certain shotgun ranges. So shotgun range will be an important factor, but I don't think that's getting buffed, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Do you have any loadout stuff that you want to talk about, EXO? Anything you're excited to try for that 1 week?
For that week, no, not really.
No?
No, we have 1 week is not going to be that big of a deal to either not play Crucible or play Crucible with, like, just going to use weapons that I've always used.
What? Oh man, I'm excited to use stuff that I like haven't really used all that much, and like different combinations.
I'm excited. I'll tell you what I'm excited to do. I'm excited to get rid of every single weapon in there that is now will be in my collections that I have no intention of using.
Yeah.
So like or I'll just have the space in my vault to just toss it in the vault now.
Well, one thing that I'm like torn on what to do. I'm looking at my vault last night, and I want to start deleting things, and I'm like, man, what in here should I save to play with for that week? Because I won't be able to get to the collections, and I'm just looking at it like 90% of them are trash weapons. But I'm gonna be kicking myself if like everybody's running around with like one particular weapon I didn't see coming.
I have a lot of the same thing. I just have them stacked for that reason. Like I'm like, what if
I don't want to hold on to them though? They're so bad.
You know? 1 week they're gonna be really good though.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I know we hate talking about Crucible Labs, but I do want to mention that this new game type sounds interesting. They're just like scorch cannons, guys. Go shoot each other with them. I'm definitely gonna jump in and try at least one game of that. It might suck, but
yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm down to do anything. I think that LTMs are good. I think that if they use Crucible Labs as more of an LTM space, then that would be super good.
LTM?
For the game, just to have some like crazy stuff.
Well, before the Crucible Labs, though,
what is LTM?
An LTM is a limited time mode.
Oh, okay.
So,
hey, at least this isn't a round-based thing, though. For once.
That emote is the saddest emote I've ever seen. Oh, that Eververse one.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about the clan stuff.
Yeah. So what is up with that though? Like they have this spiel about clans. We're gonna talk about that in a second. They have this spiel about clans, and then they're randomly like in the clan section. They're like, express yourself. And of course, we've been busy making sure you're able to express yourself to other Guardians in the world. Here's a sneak peek of what's coming. And then they randomly show this emote, and then they go back to talking about clans in the next sentence. How does that fit there? Yeah. I couldn't figure out why that was there.
So like clan. Here's an emote, clan.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else to say about the Scorch Cannons thing. That's pretty much self-explanatory. They're changing some of these social features. A lot of people apparently on Reddit have been requesting they bring back the functionality that, like, if you do a strike and are successful and everyone stays in queue, they want it to just keep queuing with those people until somebody drops out. That's fine. That's cool. It's going to apply to strikes, Gambit, Crucible. They say it does not apply to competitive. And if you get Mercy ruled, then it'll break the teams up even in regular Crucible, so that's good. Now, this is where I got a little bit annoyed, because they started talking about guided games, and they're like talking about like adding features where you can reconnect and stuff, and I'm like, okay guys, you have taken so many things back to the drawing board and taken it out of the game. This
Yeah.
should have been the number one thing to get sent back to the drawing board. It is
No, they're
the
happy with
worst
it.
system in the game. Why is it not changing in Forsaken? Why is there no LFG in this game? Like, there should be an LFG in the game, a dungeon finder. This is stupid.
First of all, checkpoints is dumb anyway, because what it's gonna do is it's gonna separate
Encourage
the
people to leave.
Well, it's gonna do that,
Yeah.
and it's going to separate the people who are looking for fresh runs to be like a thing comes up and it's like, this person is at this checkpoint. It's just gonna create an awful mess of people without an actual LFG system where you can say, we're on this boss, we wanna move to this boss, like, World of Warcraft has had for years. It's just gonna get needlessly complicated, and at worst case scenario, it's going to be extremely poor for those who wait. Like, if you get four people to go in there and you do it yourself, like, you create the person queues instantly. But guess what? If they disconnect, and I know they're working on the reconnections, but like, that's not the only problems with guided games.
Well, yeah, they didn't say anything about, hey, we're going to allow you to do other activities while you're searching for a guided game. That's number one. If you have to sit in orbit for this thing, the whole system is stupid. Please just take it out. Please. Like, it is so...
Yeah.
Like, keeping this in the
pretty
game,
bad.
honestly, just ticks me off, because you're not acknowledging there's a problem here. Even with a bigger player population, it's not acceptable for people to sit there, and I'm going to say, at a minimum, they're going to be waiting 20 minutes to do a raid. There is
20 to 40. Well, 45 minutes is usually the
right,
average.
but I'm saying if player population goes up, there's a possibility
That's true.
they're anticipating it'll be faster. But even 10 to 20 minutes is insane to be staring at a ship floating around space.
And you have to hit accept, and if you don't hit accept, guess what happens?
It goes to the next person. Yeah, so this system, it's got to go. Bungie, I'd rather there be nothing. Seriously. This is just...
Get that back on the drawing board for Season 5.
It's confusing for new players. I'm sure they're going to come in and go, oh, yeah, I can just do this guided game thing. And they're going to have a terrible experience, and they're going to be mad about it. So please just get rid of it. Honestly.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
it
just a
needs to
bad-
go. I don't even care about the little blue emblem. Thing looked terrible.
No, the emblem, the emblem's not what I care about. It's the aura is amazing, and the fact that they're putting it behind that activity is kind of strange. But it's stupid because the person who has been guided doesn't get that emblem.
Yeah. Yeah, that is stupid.
Doesn't get this emblem, doesn't get the aura.
Yeah. They're updating the clan system. I don't know, like, they're making it seem like they want to encourage you to play with your clan, and they want the perks to be more interesting, which is good, because I don't even know what the perks do right now. I've completely forgotten. They're stupid things where they're
More
like...
damage to Cabal.
They're like, more glimmer!
So that was Season 1. This
Oh,
one
geez.
it has a chance of giving you an extra token on boss kill or something.
Wow.
Something stupid.
So here's like a preview of some of the new things that... So rank 3, increased resilience when you're in a fire team with clanmates. So I looked into this. They did clarify on Twitter it's 1 resilience, and they did not clarify whether this will apply in the Crucible. So
I doubt it.
I hope not. That would be so dumb if it was just like this unanticipated variable that exists. Like, oh, they're a clan.
Clanmate resilience boost is +1 when playing with a clanmate. No increase based on how many are in fire team, just a flat 1.
Yep. So they didn't clarify.
But I imagine this is for the Crucible though, because resilience doesn't matter. The resilience doesn't matter in PvE.
Oh, I hope it's not for the Crucible, man. That doesn't make any sense to just go into like a PvP environment. And
It doesn't make any sense to need it in PvE though. From a PvE player.
Yeah, you can take more shots.
So don't give us this perk.
No,
Yeah.
Resilience doesn't matter in PvE.
Yeah, it should though.
It should maybe,
Yeah.
but like this is probably specifically put in there for PvP.
So another one is you'll be able to get more of these resources that we don't know what they do when you're collecting them. I'm guessing those are the planetary resources, like, so when you go around like holding E to pick things up or whatever, you'll get more of them. So that's kind of nice. It'll lessen that grind.
My guess is one of them is for the Reef, and then the other one is for the Dreaming City, because Dreaming City will have its own resources as well.
Okay. Now, this last one, the weekly clan milestone grants a masterwork core. This is interesting because there's a couple times they've mentioned things will grant a masterwork core. It seems like the masterwork core economy is actually going to get harder because, like, a masterwork core for a weekly bounty,
Yeah.
a masterwork core is nothing. So if
And it's gonna take a lot to upgrade a weapon. So it's the economy seems to be pretty sparse.
17 masterwork cores to completely upgrade a weapon.
Okay. So hold on to your masterwork cores because it seems like it's going to be harder to get them, honestly. Don't spend them on pointless weapons right now. Just save them. Don't use them. That's all I have on clans. I hope, like, the clan system's better, and, like, honestly, they should make it so you can have more than 100 people. 100 people limit is really dumb, in my opinion.
No, they said that you're going to be able to have bounties as well. That's something you didn't mention.
Oh, you're right. I did go.
The 50 the bounties are coming in for clans. So if you do things with your clan mates, you're going to be able to do clan bounties together, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. Okay. So now there was a leak that happened on Reddit. I'm not going to go into any story spoilers.
I would say spoiler warning. We can probably put a spoiler warning up because anything we're going to talk about from this point is not. Everything we talk about from this point is speculation, and although the person has a lot of credibility, given the fact that some of the information was posted 6 days ago, it's been confirmed in the TWAB this week. So close your ears, mute the audio. I'll let my stream know when we're done talking about it. So if you don't want to know anything, because that way it'll give us free range to talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. So yeah, from this point forward, just
from here on out, we're going to talk about things that have been potentially spoiled in a from a Destiny Reddit user by the name of Ginser.
Yep. So the first thing is the raid. It's going to be called Last Wish. If you personally, like, these kind of spoilers, I'll say most of this stuff I don't find it as like content spoiler. I didn't find myself like pissed off that like I came upon this. It's not like, oh crap.
Didn't they tell us what the name of the well was, right? Like the blind well.
Yep.
Like they told us. Oh, they told us about that. So that was something that we were like, well, what's the new activity going to be called? And that's like, for some people that's a spoiler too. So
yeah. But for me personally, like, that doesn't really matter. The thing I'm excited about that he mentions in here is that there will be something like a one-time challenge to finish the raid within 24 hours after launch. Do you know how cool it would be if you got an exclusive emblem or something for finishing the raid within 24 hours? I would actually be motivated to try it. Because, like,
Bungie, though,
as it stands right now, I don't really care. Like, I know I'm not going to get Worlds first. You know, that, like, Redeem and, like, a couple other teams, Math Class, everybody is so good at, like, analyzing these raids, and that I know I'm not going to be first. So, like, to be able to achieve something for finishing it within 24 hours and being in there for, 12 to 18 hours...
Just as an example,
nice.
Like, given the fact that the Spire of Stars was so difficult for a lot of people, we actually had a legitimate chance. Had we figured out the stuff that we needed to figure out a little bit faster, we actually had a chance to be world first. Like, we were still in the race up to a half an hour before we had, like, figured it out. It was like that first 8 hours or whatever, it took them like 6 hours to complete it. So we were on the boss. We were actually working on the boss when Redeem and them were a little bit closer to figuring out the boss.
You guys took a break and came back to it, right?
We did it the following day, but we even had it.
Was it within 24 hours that you finished?
No.
Okay.
But it was the first week. No, because it was after.
You probably
would have known.
Yeah,
if there would have been a challenge, I'm sure.
The first day I was in there for 19 hours, so no. we slept for about 4 hours and came back to it. And the second time we came back to it, like we finished it in like just a couple of hours. We were 26th to complete it that time. But if we would have completed it when we actually had the shot just prior to our 19 hours, now this was 19 hours in, right? We would have been 8th.
If this is true, guys, the 3 of us need to be on a raid team. We gotta have like a GuardianCast raid team to attempt this, because I want to at least try it. You know, I'm not saying we'll get it, but it'd be cool.
Well, 24 hours, I feel like that's easy to do. There will be 4 or 5 bosses in here. They've already talked about how many bosses they want. They're aiming for more bosses in this raid than any other raid they've ever had, which would put them at around 5.
As long as we're geared, it'll be possible. I mean, the biggest thing that people were having trouble with in SOS was the gear check.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's worth a shot. I think that even less people will get that done within 24 hours than Redrick's Claymore. So.
I think it'll be very common to see someone who will have done it in the first 24 hours.
Oh, no way, dude. No way.
Especially I will. I know I will. You guys probably will too.
I don't think it'll be common to see though. People with if people who achieve that. I think that it's something like 20 teams in the world,
with, right? I guess that's true. I guess it depends on who you're playing with. Because if you're only playing with people who've done it, then I guess it's pretty common for you, right?
Right. So you guys finished 20th, right? 26th.
26th.
Okay, 26th. You were over 24 hours.
Right.
So we're gonna.
And they have said that the challenge of the actual raid will be just as hard.
So let's assume 25 teams finish in the first 24 hours. Times 6. That's less than 100 people across all platforms that will have this challenge. I'm okay with that. I like that. It's cosmetic only. It doesn't affect anybody. It's not like you get like a piece of weapon or something like that that's game breaking.
Right.
And it's recognition, but it won't be common. This is going to be one of the rarest things in the game if it's true. Which is cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. The strikes, I don't really care. There's nothing here. He basically has the names of the strikes. Yeah. He says there's 4 strikes. I'm sure one of those is a PS4 exclusive.
One of them is a PS4 exclusive, yeah.
Yeah. And the only thing interesting that he said was something about the Nightfall versions having special challenges, such as not receiving any arc damage in the final encounter. I don't know how you control something like that, but we're gonna need more details.
It would just be match game, but they have not a shield, but their actual armor themselves takes almost no damage.
But it says not receiving any arc damage, so you can't get shot by something with arc. You can't take any damage. You have to not get hit by.
Oh, I translated as we're not able to kill the boss with any arc damage.
That's a weird way of wording that. I don't know.
Because otherwise...
I'm definitely going to need more information on that.
Yeah.
All the Gambit stuff in here, we already went over. It adds to his credibility. He mentioned everything in here 6 days ago that they had in the TWAB.
Yeah, the Masterwork cores as well. The only thing they added about Masterwork cores is that they can be purchased, but he didn't know from where or for which currency it could be used for it.
And also that you can get it from a boss kill. I don't know, I guess strike bosses or whatever bosses.
Strike bosses or whatever can give you. Because remember, we're not getting them from weapons anymore because we don't really have the random chance of it being 100% Masterworked anymore.
He mentions that there's a dungeon. We don't know what a dungeon is, but he tells us a little bit about it, that it's going to be called the Shattered Throne, that there's multiple activities to do in there. I'm hoping it's in the open world.
No, it'll probably be in one of the activities to do in the Dreaming City, I'm betting.
Yeah, which is the open world.
Yeah, it'll probably be in the open world in that sense, but it'll only be in that zone.
So that would be cool. Exclusive armor and stuff in there, obviously. I hope that that's a challenging end game thing and not a weird mid game thing that you never go back to.
An unpurified version of an armor set. that we can purify with different activities in the Shattered Throne. So the Shattered Throne has activities that we do to purify the armor to make it better. Kind of makes it sound like the Blind Well mixed in with the Shattered Throne. So the Blind Well might be part of the Shattered Throne.
Right. So
Possibly, yeah.
the thing that I'm most excited about in here, and also like a little bit worried about, is this collections thing. He mentions that your Destiny 1 achievements, including like Grimoire score, your collection of certain weapons, reaching the lighthouse, emblems and stuff like that, are going to be acknowledged in your collections in Destiny 2. I'm a little bit worried about the whole being on PC thing, that they're just not going to give you credit for that. If this is a thing that's going to happen, I hope that they can tie it to your Bungie.net account somehow so that, you know, you can get access to those things.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a little bit weird if they brought that back and they just screwed over all the people who switched to PC.
Well, he does say console players only, obviously, on that.
Yeah, that's
very worrying. Hopefully that's ignorance.
Yeah. Hopefully, because we don't know how this guy's getting his information, but it would be weird if they like didn't fully like think that out. Like they were like, "Hey, here's this really cool thing we're offering legacy players to, you know, acknowledge them for sticking with us." And then at the same time they're like, "By the way, screw you for switching platforms."
PC didn't get any legacy text though, did they? Like we didn't get the Iron Banner text or anything like that. No, we didn't.
Nope.
So.
Yeah, we didn't get any of those legacy veteran rewards, so I hope that is something that gets remedied in the future. They mentioned a couple things about the story here. I don't really want to go into the story stuff at all, because I think that is probably better just to play. And it's mostly lore-related stuff that I don't want to focus too much on.
Well, I'll talk about. I do want to mention, because we're still in spoilers. I do want to mention something that I have seen in that thread and people are very upset about. If Aldrin actually ends up being killed by a creature and not by a guardian, people are going to be very upset about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that like poetic justice.
Yeah, like apparently, according to what he's saying, is we're gonna get the last the Ace of Spades from him, who's gonna be a dead body, basically just sitting in the Dreaming City after he's opened up a gate. But he's not going to be killed by us. Like, we're going to be going after him, and like we're probably going to catch him in the act of opening up one of the gates in the Dreaming City, and some monster is just going to be like, and he's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, man, a lot of people are like, God, that would be really bad if we're not the one to actually kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be determined. You guys have anything else in this leak that you want to discuss? EXO.
The picture adds more justice to what he was talking about with the sparrow and the. I mean, just looking at it, and if you wanted to check it out, guys, if you don't really care about the thing, there is an image in there that shows off some of the ghost shells, which look very unique and very interesting.
Oh wait, where is that?
I'm posted in the Discord for you, because they posted the. There you go. That taken sparrow. There's a couple of ghost shells. Some of those weapons we've seen already. Some of them we haven't. Like, we haven't seen that one that's on the far right. I think that's the 1,000 words, right?
No clue.
Yeah.
That one ghost shell looks like a ship from Halo. I can't remember what the name of that ship was. Oh well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What are the dog tags?
So I guess the dog tags have to do with Gambit, and that has to do with your the ornaments that you're gonna get from Gambit. So those might be emblems, or those might be. We don't know.
All right. Well, I do have to start wrapping up here, guys.
All right, so we'll make the spoiler warning is over now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, spoiler warning's over. So next week we are going to have a guest for the first time in a while, so that's exciting. I want to line up. It is going to be the Rogue Shadow. He's a regular listener, Destiny enthusiast.
Heck yeah.
So he has to be on. So next week we'll have him on. Hopefully we can line up some more people in the weeks to come, especially after Forsaken. I think there's going to be a lot of people hyped about the game who want to come on and talk about it.
For sure.
But that's all I have for this week, guys. This has been episode 27. I'm Recked. I'll see you guys next week.
27.
Peace.
See you guys.